Hi, today we're going to look on a way to play the whole live set on an algorithm. Why would you want to do this is usually lack of space in DJ booth. Also for live it is nice to have something super simple and effective so it's impossible to get confused, or you don't want to spend all your energy dedicated for performance on connecting wires in the right order before you start playing. Most of genres usually have kick, snare, head, percussion, bass, and a couple of mid-range parts like chords or leads. In this diagram you can see the layout, which is simple and effective. Pads which are connected with line have only one voice, so be careful when using those, as the right pad can mute the left one and you can end up with unwanted effect. So for the first step you need either compose a piece which have 8 tracks elsewhere, or in an algorithm, it's up to you to decide. Considering that you have all those parts ready, let's check out what kind of effects could be useful on them. Today we're gonna focus on performance mode, as it has gradual control over effect states. So initially in performance mode, the velocity of each pad works as a macro control similar to those you've seen in Ableton Rex, and you can have 12 of those macros, as there are 12 pads on the machine. You can assign multiple parameter changes to a single pad, and the harder you push it, the more all parameters you have assigned to it go closer to their destination values. It's really fun to play with, but for conventional live set there is a problem. The values are being initialized to normal as soon as you release a pad. So it's really hard to focus on something else when using this mode on an algorithm. Luckily, these performance pads can be adjusted with Midi controller. Today we're gonna use Naked Board's MC24, as it has 3 rows of 8 knobs, and it's handy to use half of its panel for programming performances, as it mimics the performance pads on an algorithm. In order to make it work, first we need to set certain control change parameters for the controller. If we look in an algorithm manual, the performance control change numbers are going as follows. So we need to set them like this for the controller knobs. But before that we need to check which MIDI channel is assigned in an algorithm for performance. Here we have number 16, so all these control change messages should be going to an algorithm on channel 16. You can change control change assignments for Naked Board's MC24 controller by connecting it to your computer and going to nakedboards.org site and click Settings. We are going to use the left half of the controller for performances. Be careful when setting control change values, as number 38 is skipped in an algorithm performances, and if you don't pay enough attention to that, you will end up confused. So it's time to connect the controller to an algorithm and check if all works as intended. MC24 has to be powered by USB, and there is also a mini jack to 5-pin MIDI adapter included, so MIDI cable will go from the adapter to an algorithm MIDI input. So we are switching to performance mode and rotating the knobs to see if they coincide with the pad's positions. Looks like everything is fine, and it's time to program the performances. I'm not going to focus on performance programming on an algorithm here, as there are lots of videos on YouTube you can check regarding this topic. Let's better focus on what kind of effects would be useful for this or that instrument. The most simple and effective way you can change the behavior of the kick is to cut its low frequencies with the filter and maybe send it to delay or reverb at the same time. The same applies to the bass. You can program both bass and bass drum for a single knob, but it's better to have separate controls, as this gives you freedom to control them independently. So that's performance 1 and 5 sorted. The snare is going to delay, performance number 2. For percussion we are going to use performance 3 on its loudness and performance 4 on a delay send. Performances 6 and 7 are going to control loudnesses of our mid-range parts, and performances 10 and 11 are going to send each of them to delay respectively. It's handy that delay sends are situated just above the levels of mid parts, which mimics mixer situation with aux sends to effects. Next, performance 9 and 12 are going to affect our mid-range instruments also. 9 is going to be bit crusher and filter for the left mid-range, and performance number 12 is going to control the right mid-range part in the same way. As regards performance 8, it will be used to control the low-pass filter for the heads. It's also advisable to label the knobs on the controller, as you are going to use the same settings for tracks and won't get lost during your set, which is very likely without labeling. That's it, we're done. Let's check this setup and what can we do with it.